Welcome to 3R's Sports. Right now, we can see Raj is still hiding from the draft and is not showed back up yet. So he's looking up Alex Leatherwood right now on Wikipedia and getting ready for the show. Of course, joining us tonight, Raj will be joining us in a minute. He's getting set. Folks, we may move our show back a little bit. It's a tough hour for us all to make it sometimes. But either way, we've got the 3R's, Randall, Robbie, and Raj here. And Robbie, you did more than yeoman service to make it tonight. You haven't even got to eat your sandwich yet, have you?
I haven't had dinner. I'm a little under the weather today. Not COVID though. I've got my vaccines and I took a COVID test today, so it's not that. It just seems to be something else that's going around. But I'm here and happy to be here, and looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Yeah, a lot of we're branching out a little bit tonight. Well, Raj has got something big for us to share with us here in a little bit, but let's get Roger, you finally settled into your spot.
I think so.
Okay. Well, welcome, Raj. How are you doing? But have you feel better about the Raiders draft yet? Even though I might have took a shot too younger text the other night, it's the greatest 2 minutes of this show so far.
How does a hat?
No,
not,
man. Like I said, What's that?
How is your hat not on the right size?
That's a good question. My dog had it in her mouth, and she got a piece of the back. So,
okay,
that is exactly why. And Randall, to answer your question, no, I'm not over it. I never will be over it. You've got one shot every year at the NFL draft. You need to make sure you get value. The Raiders never get value, and you can't. You're flipping a coin. The Raiders are like a fountain where you flip a coin and you wish. There are no measurables. There are no like taking this guy here. There's no Trevor Lawrence selections. In fact, when they had number 1 overall, they picked Jamarcus Russell. So it's perpetual fountain wish. Trevi Fountain in Italy. Throw it over your back shoulder and hope for the best, which never happens.
Well, I'll remind you, the Falcons had 2 number 1 overall selections. One was Andre Bruce, who ended up playing tight end for the Raiders, and the other one ended up in federal prison. So it's not like we've done so well with the number 1 pick either. But tonight we have
I remember that.
A variety of subjects to talk about, getting everybody squared in. But tonight we're going to lead with, and Roger, I'd like for you to tell a little bit of the background of how you've got to know him and stuff. We have a great UFC event this weekend, and a friend of the show is fighting the co-main event. Hopefully, fingers crossed, future guest of the show. But explain your connection with Dariush, and let's talk a little bit about the fight. And he changes hats again. I like the Dodger hat. Here, I got the brakes.
Yeah, I probably should mix it up, but I didn't feel like it right now. Go to my go-to. So Benil Dariush is an amazing guy. One of my best friends from college. He is a physician and ended up marrying a pretty nurse, and the nurse is Benny's sister. So Benny is his brother-in-law, and I met him years ago at the bachelor party. Of course, my buddy wouldn't do anything because his wife-to-be's brother is an MMA fighter. But no, Benny's not like that, man. He's super chill. He's very passionate, very religious. In fact, I'm going to try to get him on the show, but why can't I get this camera right? He's very about Haiti especially, and he's helping to build orphanages there. So, I'd like to give him that platform as well, because he's one of those guys that just tries to make the world a better place. But yeah, Benny and I have known each other for about 10 years. I've been
my daddy's birthday.
What? You said it's my daddy's birthday. Thanks, bud. I appreciate that.
Yeah, happy
planning
birthday.
that, by the way.
Happy birthday there, buddy.
Yeah, dude. Much
Maybe it was
appreciated.
coming later on.
Thanks. We've been to a few of his fights, even Blake, as you guys know, went with us to Nashville. I saw his first fight was in Conyers, Georgia, when he was like on the undercard, and now he's the co-main event. So I'm excited for him. He's won 6 in a row, and I think this is a very interesting matchup.
So his opponent is a UFC legend and one of my favorite fighters, Ferguson, who strangely has a tie to the owner of iLogic Media that we are on right now. His name is Jonathan Danger Cole. Ferguson used to work for him. So both sides of the co-main, we've got connections through the show. Robbie, just not really the fight, but is there any more sport that you can go from the top to the bottom than UFC? Ferguson's lost, I think, 2 fights in a row. Dana White fires you basically if you lose 3 fights. How can you go from the top 5 to being fired? I mean, the UFC, there's no second chances.
Yeah. So for me, UFC is kind of like the Premier League in soccer. Like, I know what's going on, and I know people are obsessed with it, but to say I know anything about it would be a stretch. But just on what, the brief, it seems like it's essentially a sink or swim. You're your own business, essentially, is what you are, and you're an entrepreneur out there. You have your product, which is fighting, and there's really one person you need to impress, and Dana White, and then grab a following, and you have to prove that you bring something to the table that makes them money, and then or else you're gone. And so it is ultimately the fighting for your life and livelihood, which I guess is why it is so appealing to people. But I personally, I'd love to have your buddy on the show and hear his story. And it sounds like he's doing a lot of good things aside from in the ring.
Well, and to his question, I looked up and I kind of knew it in my heart. He is doing great things outside the ring. He's been fighting since 2009 to get to this point, Rod. I mean, he's 32 years old himself. It's been an incredibly long journey to get to this point.
Yeah, man, he had to earn it. Like I said, work his way up, and there's an element of UFC that's a bit WWE, if you ask me. That's about marketing and whatnot. I can't confirm, but through my buddy, I've asked, Dana White. Why is my camera tripping? They want you to talk trash and be brash. Tony Ferguson, his nickname is El Cucuy, which is basically loosely translate to an urban legend about a boogeyman, like somebody who would snatch up bad kids, a ghost monster type thing. So, and he's a chaotic fighter, that high energy, all action, that, like you said, Randall, basically murdered people for years. He's 37. So when you get too old and, just like a racehorse, Dana's going to put you out to pasture. But yeah, with Benny being 32, his debut fight, I think it was in 2009. Like I said, I met them in Conyers. It was a Wednesday night. I cannot believe it's been that long. But yeah, he had a makeup fight 7 fights ago against Alexander Hernandez, and I can't remember who he was supposed to fight, but Hernandez, very little prep, kind of walked in there, and Hernandez, it's the UFC. It's like people saying the NBA or the NFL. These are professionals. And Hernandez handled him, and he owned it. And since then, he's won 6 in a row against some seriously talented fighters. By the way, against Holtzman was that spinning back fist that it became viral when Joe Rogan went nuts. And Benny, I'm pretty sure Benny took his $50,000 and donated it all to the Haitian. Yeah, dude, I'd be like, I'm going to Vegas. No, he's helping out orphans in Haiti.
If you have not read his story, Google him. I mean, he's a top 10 contender. Great guy. Real fast, getting into the fight real fast, Raj. I don't know if you. And again, Friday night at 9 o'clock, fight night with Andrew Howard. We'll have a full breakdown of the fight And I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all tonight's Randall's Bet the Nuts is on this fight. And I'm not trying to be a homer. I really feel so strongly about what's going to happen in this fight.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. If you stay with us tonight, I feel really, really strongly about this fight. And I got a breakdown that I think most people agree with. It's the same breakdown. I broke down the fight for our Friday show today, so I knew we were going to talk about it. And I went into it, and I'm not kidding when I tell you, Ferguson has probably been my favorite fighter because he is nuts. I mean, legitimately wear some tinfoil on your head, nuts. And he fights so it's kind of crazy. But I will get to that in the Bet Your Nuts segment. But this division, real quick, last question. You really, really are facing an uphill battle. Khabib just retired. The main event of this fight is Oliveira versus Chandler to hang the title on one of those. In July, you have McGregor fighting Poirier. And if the winner of that, you would expect to get a title shot. You also have, sitting at number 2, who lost to Khabib right before he retired, and Justin Gaethje, somebody that deserves another shot at this title. This may be the primary division in UFC, Raj. Have you ever asked Benny, has he ever thought about going up or down? It seems like even up outside of Usman, the opportunities are greater.
Yeah, I actually have. For many years, Dos Anjos was number 1 in the division. That's like his best friend, his sparring partner. They're both out of King's MMA, based in Huntington Beach. They opened up a new location near where Benny lives in Yorba Linda. And Benny is such a principled, good dude. He wouldn't fight him. He would not fight his best friend and sparring partner for a championship because he's not worried about himself as much as, I think he truly appreciates the tactical skill. Like, I don't want to use the term warfare, but, just look at his fights. He's not a guy he's the opposite of Ferguson. He's not going to go in there and go Tasmanian devil and, knock people out of the ring. He's going to be very methodical and poised, and then he's going to seize his opportunity. And sometimes it's at 4:38 in the first round, like he did against Holtzman. Other times, against Close, it was an overhand left in the second, a rear naked choke against Camacho. Otherwise, no decision. He's just a smart tactical fighter, and if you leave a window open, he's going to come through.
Absolutely. And you'll get my prediction later tonight. Do you have a prediction, Raj, now? Or do you want to save yours?
I do.
Okay.
I'll say mine for Bet Your Nuts. But, I think everyone knows where I'm going, but there's a reason why.
I think everybody knows where I'm going with my convincing.
Hey, how much does this fight cost? I assume it's on pay-per-view. How much does it cost?
It's a standard $59.95. The main event's for the lightweight championship. So,
okay,
we
got to figure out where we're gonna watch it because
let me know, and I may So that's a great segue from money to money. And Robbie is the money expert of our little gang here. Robbie, I posted in our group chat, and we discussed it. It's been all over the internet. The Dolphins, the Dolphins. I think the Bama could beat the Dolphins, but let's get back to it. Bama's players signed contracts totaling $136 million in the recent draft. That's their slot. That's what they'll take from it. That includes 6 first-round picks. $136 million. But in 2010, Sam Bradford signed one contract as a rookie for $78 million. Has the NFL got it right now in that you earn your money on your second contract?
Oh, 100%. Well, let's go back to the Alabama number and that marketing video they put out. Oh my gosh, what I watched it and it just made me sick because, like, man, what a recruiting video. Just show that whenever kids on campus are looking at you. You talk about an NFL factory, and you come there, you can sit for a while, don't put your body through much, get better, you play your year, NFL riches await. But as far as NFL getting it right, yes, there was a huge problem with the rookie wage scale, and not only the number, as anyone who watches the NFL uh, knows, it's not the total number; it's the guaranteed money.
Right.
Because those contracts might as well be written on napkins as far as it goes to the player. And so I can't remember what the number was of that 78. I want to say it was probably 38, 35, or 30, around the 30 to $40 million guarantees. And
Right.
that's when teams really had consequences for missing on these first round quarterbacks. And, I can't remember if he was the last. I know Jamarcus Russell's was huge. You had Bradford, Stafford, those guys. And
Bradford was the last one. Everybody's
okay.
bought it since Bradford.
Yeah, and so the NFL, they saw a problem that was just like, we're gambling way too much money on these kids that are not proven. And you have, go back as far as Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf, there was serious debate on who should be taking number one. Colts hit a home run, and of no fault of their own, who wouldn't have picked Ryan Leaf at number 2 that year? Everyone would have. And it was just and then they're stuck with this huge cap number that they have to pay out.
Yeah,
and
your point is very good. It was actually tragic for the Chargers to have the second overall pick in '98.
Yeah.
And end up with Ryan Leaf and all that money that was guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, and I hate to pick on the Raiders, but yeah, when they picked Jamarcus Russell, like, yeah, I mean, back then those that much money to one player, and whether they're a complete bust or just serviceable, that still sets your team. Back then it set your team back so far, and so now you're looking when they changed the rule. Now you're looking at a team like the Jets. Hey, well, I think it's stupid, but they're still able to do it. Hey, Sam Darnold, give him a couple years, doesn't work out. Let's move on to the next person. This person will draft again. You have Arizona drafting 2 quarterbacks in the first top 5 picks or top 10 picks 2 years in a row.
Right.
The NFL, as it usually does, the teams solve their problems at the player's expense.
Well said.
Very well said. Raj, to finish, to go to the next segment of this, does this now distribute the money for teams that are successful? And let me use the Falcons, for example. The Falcons came from kind of nowhere to the 17 Super Bowl. They lost to the Patriots. At the end of that season, they gave Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and Devontae Freeman huge contracts for being veterans, leading. Now, 3 years later, they face a horrible salary cap problem. Is that the next area? And the second part of that, is that why we see veteran players moving more and more? Because right now the Falcons have basically said, we're going to move Julio because we can't afford him.
Yeah, the window closed. It's a matter of time, in my opinion, before the NFL realizes this is affecting the product on the field. The NFL is easily the fastest growing and most popular sport in North America. I expect them to raise the cap or at least provide some sort of flexibility, some sort of, more franchise tagging, that type of thing. Because, it's a catch-22. Like Atlanta, you've got one of the greatest receivers, physically probably the most dynamic receiver in history to date in Julio Jones. And what do? You lock him up, and New Orleans throws a big offer out at him. They have a couple years until that cap and until that money starts affecting everything else. And, it's on one side, you have the Patriots where that's their way and they but thousands of teams have tried to duplicate their formula and it doesn't work. It works for them, but also Mac Jones falls to them at 15 or whatever. So who knows about that?
Right.
And Brady always took less money. Brady never said, "I want the most."
Exactly. And so, it's affecting the product on the field. But yes, there's absolutely no question that when you pay that money, it's limited, guaranteed, and if you have anything more than 2 years, it's pretty surprising. There's a reason why Atlanta's been drafting receivers like crazy.
Right.
Can I ask a question for the team real quick? So, and I was just, while we were having this discussion, I was just thinking, do you guys think this is part of the reason why the NFL has shifted more to the college style game is because if you can win one in that quarterback's rookie contract,
good point,
and you can, or if you can build around them at that salary point, you can win one. Look at what Kansas City did with Mahomes. The Seahawks did with Russell Wilson. I mean, and like Arizona's going with Kyler Murray. You think that's a factor, or is that just because this is just how the game is evolving?
I think it's 100% a factor, and it's just not. Let's not forget Josh Allen. The Bills went from nowhere to somewhere on his rookie contract, and right now we're seeing the Giants threw everything they possibly could at Daniel Jones in free agency and in the draft, trying to get him to succeed in his rookie contract. I think a quarterback has a 4-year window in this league now. It's win or you're out. And that's the best you can get. And I also think, Robbie, guys like Matt Ryan, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, to somewhat extent, some Aaron Rodgers, who's still, by the way, I'm not gripping him. He's still elite beyond where Matt Ryan and Ben Roethlisberger is. But those guys are getting a longer window to play. You never thought you would see a team pass on a young quarterback for a 36-year-old quarterback like Matt Ryan. Mm-hmm. So I think teams are more willing to draft younger quarterbacks, and when they find one, to hold them even longer. Rod?
Yeah, and to Raj's point about the salary cap increase, you're going to look back in about 4 years and be like, whoa, Kansas City stole Mahomes for this price.
Absolutely. Baseball might be ahead of that. Go ahead.
Tangentially, good organizations make smart decisions. Kansas City knew when they extended him that they already had Tyreek Hill under contract. Where were they going to be suspect? In the offensive line, with guys like Eric Fisher and the guard, I can't remember his name right now, both were due. What did they do? They let him go. They had already had discussions with other teams. They end up somehow getting Orlando Brown from Baltimore, filling another big hole in there by like a guy who's under contract. Even if he's not, it's 1 year. I mean, they are just so smart. And Seattle did not do that as an organization. And we can see the after effects. Russell Wilson literally has to be superhuman for them to make the playoffs. It's been a poorly run organization. It's not Pete Carroll's fault, of course, because PC is the man. But no, I mean, you have to be extremely strategic and have plan A, B, and C in place. And certain organizations do that, and most, like the Raiders, Atlanta to a lesser extent, I mean, they just don't do it.
Yeah.
Seattle's having Russell Wilson try to make chicken salad out of chicken bleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie is a Titans fan.
Nice Southernism, I like it.
Yeah,
the Mariota's failed. Vince Young failed. What it took for the Titans to be successful was pulling Ryan Tannehill off the scrap heap, basically, at a bargain basement, and then they get elite play at him, and they're able to sign him. And
hey, don't forget about Jake Locker. Jake Locker also failed spectacularly.
Yeah, Jake Locker. There was a list of quarterbacks between.
That guy was. Sorry, Pac-12 guy. They need to stop drafting Pac-12 quarterbacks, number one.
Yeah.
Locker, I didn't see at all. Mariota, I thought was a good college quarterback. Apparently, he's worth $8 million as a backup to the Raiders. But, Tannehill kind of gave that element of play action, just took a little bit enough off. And then you got A.J. Brown. But, yeah, I mean, you got Derrick Henry. It wasn't rocket science. Like, give that dude the ball. He's a monster truck. But, yes, your point remains.
Derrick Henry was a second-round pick. So you've got a second-round pick and a free agent quarterback that's leading this franchise to the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. A disappointing year last year, I think, Robbie. Is that fair?
Make the playoffs. Is it? I mean, coming off the AFC Championship game loss with the lead, is it disappointing? We're just conditioned to go 7-9. So anything above that, so that's like if you're a C plus B minus student and you make a B, you can live with it. I think the Titans. The Titans fell into that. The decade long of bad quarterback play, and if it wasn't for the Titans owner Bud Adams being such a Texas guy, it would have been Matt Leinart, Locker, Mariota. It would have been all Pac-12 quarterbacks there in a row.
And let's not forget Matt Leinart. Did he not beat Peyton in the playoffs when they were 14-2 and was 14-0 at one point? Who was USC quarterback beat him in the playoffs?
That would have been Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Hey, Sanchez won the 2 AFC Championship games in a row, I think.
Dude, he's legit, dude. He got a bad rap as well. Again, and the Jets are the common denominator. Shocker.
That organization is terrible.
Or reason you root for Darnold getting out of there. He's lucky.
I'm happy for him. We all are.
All right, so guys, we're going to do Robbie's bonus because, frankly, I'm interested in this, and I want to hear your opinions. So we had a bonus topic we kind of tacked on to this. None of us researched, but I really, truly am interested in this because recently I posted on River City Media a media survey. Where does the next Major League Baseball team need to go? And this works perfectly into this. So when Robbie sent this, I hadn't thought of it as a topic, but it made a lot of sense because I had some strong opinion at the time. The teams that were heavily voted on and was heavily swayed towards the next major league teams: Nashville, Las Vegas, Charlotte, and then there were a couple that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I think out of that group are maybe the most logical place that the A's could go. Also, there was a talk about going back to Montreal, which I think was a horrible failure. But if the A's leave Oakland, where would you like to see them go, Robbie?
So I wrote down the top 4 that I've heard mentioned. You brought them up, and I'll go through some pros and cons, and then personally where I think they fit best. So the top four: Vegas, Nashville, Charlotte, and you said Montreal. That's the top 4 I've been hearing. Also, I like them in all of those spots. I think so. Vegas makes the most sense to me because, well, one, it's just a hotbed. I think they will raise the most public funding for a stadium, which is huge for any owner wanting to move.
Public,
yeah. Public through private payers, taxpayers. But I think you have a logical Raiders, A's, North Bay Area, California, just kind of fan excitement that's there. A lot of transplants from California moved to Vegas, especially now people are moving. So I think that makes the most logical, and it keeps the divisions intact. You don't have to mess with the divisions, the scheduling. It just makes a lot of sense. Next on the list, I think Nashville is ready for a baseball team. You have a small circle. So I don't think a National League team would work there. I think you have too many built-in Cardinals, Reds, Braves fans, and I don't think you're going to get enough. So I like it being an AL team So you can keep your NL original teams that you grew up with and go have an AL team. So I like that. The one thing that worries me about Nashville, though, is they're getting a Major League Soccer team that's brand new. Is there enough in Nashville to maintain fanhood for everyone? Is there enough money there? I think there is, but that would be a concern I'd have if I was moving a team there. Nashville will probably fund a lot of they only give as much as Vegas would, but I think that Nashville would spend some money. I think Charlotte may spend the most money because they seem to be a good market also. They've got the Hornets and the Panthers who, I don't know if there's huge fandom there unless they're good. So that would worry me about being a baseball team. And you relocate, I guess, Nashville, you still have Houston and Texas. It's kind of in the middle of the country, so that you wouldn't have to split up the divisions or change the divisions. You go to Charlotte or Montreal, and you do have to realign everything. That's my big thing, why that doesn't make sense to me. So I think they're going to Vegas, and while I'd like to see them in Nashville personally, I think Vegas makes the most sense, and it's just another thing to do when we're in Vegas.
I tend to agree with you. The one thing, I don't think Nashville is necessarily a baseball city. And I don't know if when the Titans moved into Nashville, it has a very small fan base. I mean, I'm wearing my Falcons jersey. Atlanta is really an Atlanta team. It's not original. It's not a regional team. The Titans have built-in market. I don't know if the Braves don't have a stronger hold on that area than the Falcons ever did. So that concerns me. An American League team, though. I hadn't thought of that, though.
If
Raj,
I may,
you?
I agree with the AL just because pitching is hard. And if you start a new organization, it's much better to have a DL and win 14-11 than 2-1. Much easier as well, organizationally speaking. You're talking about minor league system. I understand the A's would be transferring, if you will. The A's are just like the Raiders. There is an extremely large, loyal fan base. The city is broke. They're not going to do anything. That stadium is the worst stadium I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
The Oakland Alameda Coliseum.
It's
the Raiders had an
it was a dump 10 years ago when I was there.
Dude, it was a dump 35 years ago when I was there. Wait, I'm not that old, am I? Maybe.
I was
What's
there.
your
the Raiders.
How old are you?
That's irrelevant. Erroneous.
Objection.
No, it's the Raiders. If they made the playoffs, we'd have to hope the A's, or even if they didn't, the A's didn't, because that way they'd get rid of the infield. I mean, this is not the 70s where there's multi-purpose stadiums. With that's Oakland just doesn't have the money, and it's very difficult in baseball to build a successful organization. And presumably, if Oakland moved to Nashville, it would be an organizational change. Ethos, everything about the organization, because there'd have to be a ton of money to get them there. I personally think Nashville is the best, but I'm biased. Obviously, Vegas is going to generate the most money. I think, Tennessee is very corporationally friendly in terms of, no state tax credits, grants, loans, opportunity zone programs. There's tons of reasons why Tennessee, especially Nashville, is blowing up. And every baseball stadium is going to sell 80 corporate suites and whatnot, and if they win, it's a transplant city like Atlanta and LA. So they're going to be fine. I think there's enough sports fans in here. Baseball in Tennessee is massive that people in Nashville would just need something to hold on to. I mean, they said the same thing about hockey, and look at the Predators.
Yeah.
I understand.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the one pushback I would give on that, and y'all have both been to games, at least the Titans games. I'm not sure if you've been to the Predators games, but the Predators. So there was no hockey fans in Nashville before the Predators came. So they they built in hardcore with the Predators. You go to Predators games, it's all Predators.
Exactly.
Maybe but so you go to a Titans game, everyone had their NFL team growing up. You go to a Titans game, it's about 70-30, 60-40 away fans. That would be my concern with the baseball. Now if you're still selling out the stadium, if you're an owner, do you care who's at the game as long as you're selling out and making money?
Hey, that's the NFL. People like the three of us that have loyal teams and we've been fans for, for 35 years, however old I am. I'm not switching no matter what. Most people aren't like that. And you put a team in their hometown, especially one that's, well, I guess the A's would be transferring there, but they're a fairly successful organization. I think people in Tennessee, especially Tennessee, it's not like Vegas. I mean, look at the sports in Tennessee. I've never seen the type of loyalty and fandom that I've seen in the state of Tennessee or in the South in general. So you give like the only baseball team, within 5 hours driving of Atlanta. Atlanta is also a transient city.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would crush it. You'd get a huge tri-state area. I think people would be loyal. It would be a brand new state-of-the-art stadium, luxury boxes. I would love it. And I think people in Nashville would as well.
Yeah. Plus, Tennessee fans are used to losing. So, I mean.
Exactly. So, no big deal.
If they suck, we're like, we got this. This is what we do.
Tomato.
It's interesting because I guess I assumed that Las Vegas would get eventually an MLB team, an NBA team, and because it makes the most sense, and it's a tourist destination. But I question whether Las Vegas is going to be able to support the fan loyalty, and that's the only thing that I've ever wondered. Obviously, they've done well with the Raiders, but I don't know why. But I automatically assumed Charlotte would be the next city to get a major league team. But Robbie, to your point, the Panthers and the Hornets seem more of a regional thing and not really that popular in Charlotte. It seems, especially the Panthers, seems like a South Carolina, North Carolina.
Well,
they share this NFL team.
Yeah, well, and we all spend a lot of time in Knoxville, and as student wise, I believe it is obviously Tennessee, then Virginia, then I think North Carolina. As far as the student body wise, you go to a sports bar on a Sunday, you see more Bengals gear than you do Panthers.
Right.
Like they just don't, and like you would think in Chattanooga, we have a bunch of people from North Carolina or up in that region that live here. Yeah, I just don't find that they're not the SEC. It's more of a basketball town than, and there's really no. I guess and even the Nationals are new, like the Baltimore Orioles, but it just seems like a weird part of the country to put. I feel like you're almost moving from Oakland to the Oakland of the East Coast.
Good point. It does feel that way.
And that's more mid-Atlantic, really, a transplant city than, deep south. And I get it, too. North Carolina is a little different. A lot of spillover from many different states. So, yeah, I mean, it's all going to come down to the money. So it doesn't really matter who are going to be the best fans. I think we all have established that we believe it would be Nashville. But, baseball needs money, and they need market share, and they need visibility. And unfortunately, Las Vegas is going to get eyeballs.
Robbie, we're waiting on Robbie. Where would you like to see an NFL team and an NBA team? And I'll throw mine at you. I would love to see an NBA team back in Seattle.
Seattle, for sure.
Seattle,
they were good fans, man. They got dimed out. They were good fans. That was a terrible thing.
In the NFL, I've always felt like Portland would be a natural rival for that West Coast. I always thought maybe Portland for an NFL team because the NFL feels a little, especially leaving Vegas, and the NFL is beginning to feel, or with the Raiders leaving California, the NFL feels still a little East Coast heavy. I think I would like to see another team out on the West Coast somewhere. So that would be my two. Where would you like to see an NFL team at, Raj? And Robbie, next question. NBA, NFL, where would you like to see teams?
I think it comes down to who can support it, really, like we discussed, and who's got the money. You know, San Diego had – I don't blame San Diego fans. If you've ever lived in San Diego like I have and Rob has, it's 75 degrees every freaking day.
Randall's lived there too. We've all lived
Randall
there.
has to go rehab. My bad.
Yeah.
Randall had more of a – you know, it's – if the team sucked, okay, I'm just going to walk down to the beach. Like, million other things to do. San Diego, though, does have a very loyal constituency. There's a lot of people born and raised from that area. You know, look at the Padres right now. They built a new stadium. They condensed it. They dropped attendance down by 20 grand or so. Don't quote me on that. And they've done very well. And the team has money now, and they're going after it. You know, with the right market, you know, another reason why the Chargers left was also because of the Murph, Qualcomm, whatever you want to call it. It's like Oakland Alameda Coliseum. It's a super outdated stadium. But, you know, public money is just not there. So I think San Diego deserves a team just because I know the personalities are so distinct in Southern California between San Diego, LA, you name it. You know, a lot of people say San Antonio. I'm not a big fan of the European suggestion. Portland is a good idea, you know, because it's a fact. Oregon and Washington, they don't like each other at all.
Would make sense with the two LA teams to me.
And maybe the middle of the country, you put it, you know, traveling wise and whatnot. I know St. Louis is there. Put a team in Kansas or Nebraska. You don't think they'd sell out? What else is there to do? Again, no, it's about marketing and putting eyes on the TV. But yeah, I would go San Diego, ironically enough.
Interesting. Robbie, how about you?
So, Raj brought up some good points. Yeah, so this is kind of a two-level question. Is it, hey, where do I think the team would be most appreciated and selling out and have the best fans, or is it TV markets?
Well,
I've said
different questions.
I've said for years, if you take TV out of it, if I'm an NFL owner, I'm going down to Birmingham and I'm putting a team in Birmingham in a football crazed state, and I'm getting them to change their alcohol laws. They can sell on Sundays, and I'm taking that. Hey, just to wanting to watch the Alabama, I mean, that's Paul Feinbaum made a career out of just talking about Alabama and Auburn football all year long. Like, it's insane there. And so that's where and almost like the Packers mentality of, yeah, this is the state's team and go for it. But that TV market, I mean, you got Nashville, Atlanta, New Orleans, all that South is taken up. And so it doesn't have any value for the NFL to want to go there, TV wise. So, and I agree with living in Southern California. I hate the Chargers. They beat the Titans about 7 times in a row, and I've hated them ever since. All that. So I hated going to the Chargers game. I hated living in San Diego, dealing with Chargers fans, but they are passionate. And Qualcomm was a dump, and
it was.
You couldn't sell somebody on, hey, go watch this game live in this horrible stadium versus watching it on TV in front of your in your house or at the bar. There was just no reason to go to Qualcomm. And so, and ultimately Spanos got tired of it. And so, but they are loyal fans, and they were the ones that went were rowdy. So it is a shame San Diego doesn't have a NFL team. So I think that's a good market. And then NBA, yeah, Seattle just makes so much sense. And that goes with the Portland-Seattle rivalry. Yes, those two states aren't it's almost like Tennessee and Alabama. I mean, obviously not as intense, I don't think, but it is very much the same as, yeah, you're from across that line and don't come into our line.
Exactly.
Kansas City has been highly discussed for NBA.
I could see that.
They just need the right amount of T. Boone Pickens, Warren Buffett, Bill Gajillionaire to come in there and help out.
Well, and I've always thought. I mean, like there's market research behind these leagues they're trying to start, where these college town obsessed fan groups. There's a market. They just have to get enough money to start the league and get it run. That the attention hasn't really been the problem. It's been the running out of money has been the problem.
A good point.
If you're listening, Jeff Bezos.
I went to games in St. Louis. I've drove up to St. Louis. That was a good football city, but it was a very bad facility. It was if you were in the RCA Dome, you were in St. Louis, and it was I had no heart, no feel. And I'm not a huge Titan fan, but one thing I've always said is Adelphia has a feel. It has an NFL feel to it. It's different. It looks different. I think some of these cities, like St. Louis, could support an NFL team. I just think their ideals of what a stadium was 20 years ago was very bad. But back to your point, Robbie, they were the number one attended team in the spring league. Raj, go ahead.
As a technicality, that's what Robbie and I do. The RCA Dome was in Indianapolis.
It was.
I believe it was like the TWA Dome or Edward Jones Dome.
It was
Randall
Edward
doesn't
Jones
deserve
in St.
this.
Louis.
He's got. Okay, there you go.
And
Thank you.
And it's Nissan Stadium in Nashville, not Adelphia. Adelphia was the original one. I think it's been through a couple of different names since then.
Yeah, I'm still on Adelphia. Hey,
We're
still
stuck in the past, man.
Mercedes is still the Georgia Dome to me.
Hey,
but you're
right,
right.
Dude, how are we going to get sponsorships with all these misuse of name brands?
Actually, RCA Dome in Indianapolis was the same as the TWA Dome in St. Louis. That comparison I actually meant.
Yeah, well, PSA for anyone building a stadium, do not build a dome, a hard dome unless you absolutely have to. Retractable roof it or go outdoors.
Absolutely. Last question
Agreed.
on this subject, guys. Will we ever see an NFL team in London?
Oh, is this so?
This is eyes on product.
I think there's a reason why Jacksonville signed Tebow, and I think there's a reason why they're the team that's going to play the most games in London. Will they ever move? Probably not, but could you see a 4 home game hybrid? I think Jacksonville is definitely putting the feelers out there and seeing, hey, what kind of publicity does this get, and can we be the team of Europe? Does COVID affect this? Because you already have the Blue Jays that are having to play in the States and can't travel. I don't know if this derails that movement, but you know what the NFL. I mean, the NFL's main goal is print money.
That's it.
Yeah,
dude, there are so many expats in Europe, let alone in London. There's a reason why they had European football leagues there. My personal feeling is until technology evolves a bit, meaning that until we have a bullet flight type thing other than British Airways or a spaceship, because it's very difficult logistically. The NFL has to basically plan 3 weeks out for a game across the pond, meaning that they have to have a strategic game divisionally for the team that's at home before they go to London. Then they travel out. They have to adjust to 5 hours from the East Coast. From the West Coast, it's 8 hours, a time difference. And then when they come back, usually teams aren't playing on that Sunday. It's got to be there by. So logistically, it's a nightmare. And until that can change, I don't see it. But I think I think it's a matter of time.
Well, what about the thought of this is going to be the NFL's? We're taking more of the cake. We're expanding the season. We're stretching it out longer.
Yeah, and they already started it.
Yeah, that would be my thought. Is yeah, we don't care. Whenever we're on TV, we're the game in town, and so
Yeah, no, I agree. That's
Interesting
something I
enough,
didn't think of, and
the
you're right. You're absolutely right.
the Falcons are signed up for one of these guys this year, and I was on a call with some other people. My friend Howie was, and it really is a almost nightmare situation if you try to play and come back within a week. You really do, as Rod said. So, and I think that's going to affect the Falcons this year. They're giving up a home game to play in London, playing 9 road games, 7 games, 1 game in London. So, odd quirk of the scheduling. They end up on the road 10 times and at home 7 times. And Robbie, that is the next question. This week, it was announced that Tim Tebow will be signing a 1-year deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Robbie, is this football or fans?
is this for so I think Mr. Khan is living in the spotlight right now, and he wants all of it he can get. I think, and Urban Meyer is a ego-driven person too, and the more attention in Jacksonville, the better. I think that it's going to help Trevor Lawrence as much because if he has a bad game, oh, why didn't Tebow get to play? Why didn't Tebow? What kind of package are you going to put him in? And for whatever reason, I don't understand it. That guy just draws so much attention and so polarizing, and I don't really understand why people care so much. But I was on my drive to Middle Tennessee today. They were talking about in a minor league game in baseball, there was like 500 people in the left field or right field, whichever one he was playing, to watch him just sit there and do nothing. And it's mind blowing, but it's just an attention grab. And I mean, look, if you're Jacksonville, I don't know what the league minimum is, but that's what if you signed him, he's going to try out. You'll pay. He's probably going to make the team, and you pay him the minimum contract. That's worth so much money in jersey sales and ticket sales. Gardner Minshew, though, he's wearing number 15 right now. I'd be like, oh, this price of this number 15 is going up and up and up every day if Tebow wants to buy it. But I mean, it's follow the money. That's the answer to this question. It is not about football. He can't play. He couldn't play quarterback in the NFL. He can't play tight end. He can't play running back. This is all publicity. I can't remember whose quote I'm borrowing right now, but if it was Kelsey, I'm messing up. It was the 3 best tight ends in the league. They still would have done this. Sign Tebow as number 5 tight end, get some publicity.
Right.
Everyone needs something to believe in. You know, when I was in India in 1998, I was in a small town in Gujarat, and my family, if you can't sell alcohol on a certain day, we don't like it. So over there, you can kind of grease somebody or whatnot. And it wasn't one of those days. And I asked, what's going on here, guy? And the guy was like, I could use an Indian accent here, but if Hank Azaria feels like he shouldn't say Apu anymore, I probably shouldn't. Although for the record, most Indians, like my parents, think Apu is hilarious. But the dude was like, Billy Graham is going to be here. So I just did it. And, there are 500,000 people. White guys can't laugh at that. But literally 500,000 people. And there's a massive Christian population in India. Why? Connect the dots, no pun intended. Oh, that's bad. I've lived in Tennessee.
All right, here comes the
long.
FCC. The FCC is getting on us again.
Tennessee too long. The point is, people need something to believe in. I didn't like Tim Tebow initially, but just because of Randall's trying not to show his smile, but hey, dude, it's my bad. Why? Then I asked, why don't I like him? Oh, because he's good, because he does the right thing, because, it wasn't his fault there was a camera in his face at all times. He's a role model, man, and he did well under the biggest spotlight, and I mean that literally, not like from a heaven down, like physically. There's what's wrong with the guy? He makes no bones. He doesn't boast. He doesn't say, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. I mean, he's just a great teammate and a kid that performs under pressure. So I get it. I guess now he's like, I'm old, so he must be old too. Like, what is he, like 40 or something? 35?
Tebow? 33.
Yeah, younger. Okay. But, sure, is it publicity in nature?
Randall
But
could have kids that old.
No, he probably does. He's not aware of.
I'm still on the connect the dot comment.
The point is, I when I ask people, it's like, why do you not like him? Give me one good reason. Most people can't.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think there's any reason to not like him. It's just, I mean, he seems like a good guy, and he doesn't do anything fun. I probably wouldn't like to hang out with him, but I wouldn't dislike him. I bet he's worse than Randall at fantasy football, though.
Yeah, but he drafts
probably.
That's the problem.
That's right.
What?
And I'm hesitant to ask this question, but you have to, because it was the first reaction I had. Does it say anything about the NFL that Tebow has a job and Kaepernick doesn't? Or was it Kaepernick's?
You cut out on that last bit, and he's out. Raj, you want to take this first? You want me to?
Go ahead.
I think we'll get him to clarify his question if he's coming back.
I think we get the gist of it. Is there anything more?
There's Amber Alert in the Oliver Springs, and evidently
I saw that. Yeah,
I saw that as well. God.
So, does it say anything about the NFL that Tebow has a job and Kaepernick doesn't, or was it Kaepernick could have got a job, and his Atlanta workout turned into just a circus? What does it say? Does it say something bad about Kaepernick, or something good about Tebow, or does it say nothing about the NFL?
It says everything about the NFL. It says that they will welcome a circus if it's a circus on their terms. They will not welcome a circus if it's a circus on someone else's terms. There is not a person that knows football that can argue Tebow was a better NFL quarterback than Kaepernick. But yeah, like they don't want people pulling sponsorships for whatever reason. There's Nike and there's a few other progressive companies, and they stuck by Kaepernick, and they are on the right side of things. There are a lot of other companies that are just silent, and they're okay with that. But the owners of these teams don't want to put those companies that are silent in awkward positions because they will pull the money. I can assure you, the only thing that these owners want more than these billion-dollar toys is to keep their $1 billion that allow them to buy billion-dollar toys. And so this says everything about the NFL. It is not about Kaepernick. It's not about Tebow. It's just about the NFL. They will not rock the boat in rocky waters. They want high tides to rise all their boats. And that's what Tebow does for them. I couldn't believe it. I was at home sick today for most of the day. Half of the sports talk shows were all about a fifth string tight end who probably won't even make the team, or will make it only because of his name. Oh, this is a cash cow for them. That it is all about the NFL.
Does he make the team no matter his ability?
I mean,
well, does it matter? They've got the NBA playoffs are about to start. The NFL is dominating the story.
Okay.
I mean, if you have him, you can probably get rid of the team chaplain, salary wise in terms of the organization. He's still fast and physically. He was always gifted. Put him on special teams. He's an emergency quarterback, emergency tight end. I'd keep him. I mean, Urban knows what he's doing. Urban had a lot of other players at Florida that he was loyal to and could have put in this position. But I agree with Robbie 100%. It's, it wouldn't have, it's a circus when Tebow gets signed. We say it is with Kaepernick, but it's only a circus to those that perceive it that way. It's the same amount of eyes and cameras on him. And I think that was a great question. And I think Robbie and I could both speak on that for many, many hours. And I think we both come from the same perspective, and that there's no doubt that there's a reason why Tim Tebow is employed and Colin Kaepernick is not. And it has nothing to do with performance.
Well, I mean, Des Bryant, his 30-year-old receiver can't get a job. I mean, it's not just Kaepernick. There's different levels of people that make them uncomfortable. I mean, let's be real. It shouldn't be a hot take. Like, they don't want controversy.
Polarization is expensive.
Yeah.
So my follow-up question would be, did Ricky Williams do enough? Ricky Williams left. I felt like he was ostracized from the NFL, came back later, a remake of himself. If you're a player that is ostracized, Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown to some extent, now, way different than Kaepernick's situation. Is there a point where you have to remake yourself to get another shot? And let's take Josh Gordon. He's gotten 5 shots and 4 failed drug tests. Understand it's a completely different environment, but does talent outweigh that risk at some point?
No. My opinion, no, because professionally speaking, there's enough guys to kind of fill the void. Again, you rock the boat, you cost an owner and teams money potentially. I hesitate to put Josh Gordon in Ricky Williams' class because Ricky Williams is now like a holistic healer. He believed in the medicinal benefits of, and we don't want to go pro versus con, but the smoke, he said, is something that God put on the earth for you and me to enjoy, take advantage. He didn't just say I smoke weed like Josh Gordon more or less seems to have said. He talked about the medicinal benefits, holistic, like I said, spiritual and whatnot. Ricky Williams took a stand, and Ricky Williams was a guy though that didn't need really to be defined by the NFL, if you will. He did come back and try to play the game, but he also stopped that as well. Josh Gordon is just, I think a dude that is a bit stubborn and I can smoke weed. Nobody's going to stop me. I'm still the fastest dude on earth. Ricky Williams was a pretty principled dude. Now, I don't want to put him in the same, category as Colin Kaepernick when it comes to principle. But, Kaepernick, part of me believes that there was a footprint there and that Kaepernick, without Ricky Williams taking a stand and being like, forget you, I'm going to do what I want. Kaepernick, maybe not would have, been as ostentatious. That's probably not the right word, but Ricky Williams wore a dress on ESPN.com with Ditka. He didn't care, man. And that was part of the point. Now Kaepernick, it's a different era now. But long story short, performance is irrelevant when it comes to controversy. If that makes sense.
And we weren't going to talk about this, so we're kind of going here. And I'm trying to go off of my memory about Ricky Williams. And I could be wrong, but my thought, memory is that Ricky Williams never got suspended. He just said, I am going to retire because I prefer to smoke weed over play football. And so that's a choice. And even today, 10 years, 15 years later, that's a whole different. The society has changed on that. What it's like your best ability is always availability. And so Josh Gordon, because NFL drug tests, they're not drug tests, they're stupid tests. And so you know when they're coming, and if you can't pass them, then you're just too stupid to play the game. And I think that's where it came into Josh Gordon's failure in the NFL was you can't be available. You can't be trusted to be there because you keep failing these drug tests. Oh my gosh, they have to be mapped out. Are you trying like it's naive to think that most of the NFL don't use marijuana. So yeah, like there would be positive tests on every team. It'd be like the COVID test. Like, yeah, it's a stupid test. And so if you keep failing the stupid test, then yeah, your controversy does outweigh your ability.
Sorry, I was experimenting with our internet wave a little bit. Sounded. I think I found something just then. I took my vibration through our feedback box here. But I'm not necessarily in the same political field, but it does feel to me that Tebow's back. I mean, and I'm one of the sheep. In a
Where
way,
you're cutting in and out, Randall.
Hold on. Any better?
Yeah.
Okay. So we lost Raj too. But I thought that was a great segment. Let's see if we can get Raj back real fast. Robbie, while we're waiting on Raj, and somehow I might have kicked him off by accident there, trying to fix our sound problem. And we're not going to get into it tonight, but since we're talking about it, what does the Kentucky Derby test failure say about Bob Alford? I mean, is this going to be a career? I mean, is this take away everything that he's accomplished?
What it shows is winning 5 Tour de France's in a row is hard. Hitting 73 home runs in a year is hard. Hitting 70 home runs in a year is hard. Hitting 66 home runs in a year is hard. Running a 100-meter race in 9.4 seconds is hard. Almost impossible. So when people start doing things that have never been done before, you gotta question the legitimacy of them. And so, yes, it puts it all into question. He's won 7 Kentucky Derbies. No one's done that. So, and now, yeah, like eventually you get caught, allegedly. But yeah, like yes, it makes you question everything. It could be a false positive. It could be a positive, and then now what the narrative? Because I can tell you this: horse racing benefits a lot from having a Triple Crown participant, and so they don't want this test positive. And I hate to be the don't trust anything, but I'm a follow the money person. I just am. There's such insane incentive to cheat in that sport. And so, yeah, like you're testing a horse, man. Like, someone came and threw some hay in. Oh, I'd see Aaron. I forgot about Mettenberger. I forgot we had him as a Titans quarterback too. Oh yeah, man, the Titans went through some bad times. But yeah, no, yeah, it makes me question his reign as the top trainer. Because I mean, I was here's everything that's in the horse's system is on the trainer, and so they've got to know. And he started off saying he didn't. There was no way that drug was in him, and now today his lawyer put out a statement saying hiding behind people of Raj's ilk, putting out a crafted statement that says, "Oh yeah, it may have been this medicine. We didn't know that at the time." Raj, I can't hear you. Oh, hold on. We got Raj muted.
Muted you.
Yeah, no, you're
All right,
good.
sweet. Now I'm good. Bob
I had
Baffert
some
is
horrible feedback coming, so I logged off to get a clean signal.
stupid internet truck outside again.
No, this was just something stupid started happening.
Is your daughter on the Wi-Fi again?
Probably.
She's playing Among Us. This was surprising because normally when Bob Baffert is an issue of controversy, it's not for something this blatant and obvious. Otomax has a clear corticosteroid in it, betamethasone. I mean, it's topical, I think. So I was shocked by this because this is not something that would enhance performance per se. I mean, I guess it's not like Bonds injecting his head and it increasing 8 sizes, but he knows better. I was very surprised by this. Like I said, ordinarily when Bob Baffert incites controversy, excuse me, it's nothing like this. I mean, he knows post-race tests and whatnot, and I was very surprised by this. I think they called it environmental contamination, which I don't know about that, but when Robbie said, he said it right. I mean, you follow the money, and very few sports have more money riding on it than this one, and no one has been more successful as a trainer than Bob Baffert.
Very nicely done on the medical terms or the prescription terms. I like that.
Can you be my doctor?
Well, I am Indian, but the closest thing I get to being a doctor, aside from like my mom, sister, brother-in-law, dad, uncle, is that I work for a company that sells Band-Aids. So
you should hear me trying to pronounce medical terms in a deposition. It's embarrassing. I'm just like, doctor, what does this say? How do you pronounce this?
And that's got an effect as well.
Personally say I still haven't recovered from the follow the dot comment. I don't know why.
It was connect the dots.
Connect.
If you're going to give me credit for racist things that only the brown guy can say, give me a full and appropriate credit. I would appreciate it.
That made my day. So, all right, guys, we got about 10 minutes here, and I'm sorry, everybody. We just dropped for some reason. Every now and then we'll do that. But let's get to our Bet or Nuts segment. I may be off, but I have Raj at 4-0. Have you lost to Bet Your Nuts yet?
I did. I lost one when I wasn't prepared. No excuses. We don't make excuses in life. I picked the over in Seattle and Houston, and the under came in. It was that night. I was like, I looked at the pictures, and I'm like, they have more than 5.5 runs. So I'm actually 3-1.
Okay, so Robbie, you're 3-1. I'm 3-1, and Raj is 3-1. So
I'm tied with you guys.
Yeah.
Dude, when is that ever the case? That's never the case.
That's bad company to keep.
So I know, dude. I'm struggling.
And I'm going to finally reveal. I'm going to reveal somebody's on River City Media saying hi to us. I have no idea who that is.
Hello.
I'm going to talk about the fight, Benny versus Ferguson. So I listened to my guy, MMA Guru. I listened to a couple of podcasts, and all three of them had the fight going the same way. And it was almost, I walked into this fight earlier in the week, and to be honest with you, I felt like, okay, Benny's there to be a sacrificial lamb for Tony Ferguson to get corrected again. And then I started listening to the guys who was like, why are they fighting 3 rounds? And why is Tony Ferguson fighting this gauntlet? Why is this? Why is that? And it strangely started to make sense to me that really these two guys have changed spots. Dana White wants Benny to win this fight. I believe Benny would be a huge draw to the UFC. right now. I think it's a good matchup for Benny. And all three of my guys I listen to when I prepare my predictions for the Fight Night show predicted it the same way. 29, 28, 3 rounds, unanimous decision, Benny over Tony Ferguson. That round decision will get you about plus 400. Slight favorite in the fight. So play it both ways, and you could really clean up. But my bet your nuts is straight up. He gets him somehow. That's my bets the nuts for the week. But I really do think it's going the distance.
And Rob, I'm going to go before you because, number one, you're the closer when it comes to gambling due to your lack of soul and wallet that is unlimited or limitless wallet. That's what I was looking for.
And desire.
I wish.
I agree with you. That's why I went here. Tony Ferguson it's just a battle of contrasting styles. I know they're both technically heavy strikers and whatnot, but like I said with Benny, you leave a window open. He's a smart fighter. He's very poised, intelligent. He sees things in milliseconds. I guess like somebody that smoked too much weed sees things in milliseconds. Benny doesn't smoke weed, but that's what he reminds me of, like theoretically. He's just an extremely intelligent, poised fighter. And for a guy that can be kind of a wild card, it's usually not a good matchup. Meaning that, he's 20-4, I believe, and he learned his lesson a couple times from Hernandez, from I think his second fight was Ramsey Nijem, who, now if they fought, he would basically destroy him. But he got caught, man. I mean, and that's UFC. And I think Benny, after Alexander Hernandez,
he was wearing Hernandez out in that fight and got caught. If I remember correctly,
absolutely the case.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't. Benny and I are cool, but I'm not going to be that guy. I don't know what his day to day is like. I don't know what his preparation is like. Like I said, he's very passionate about many things, mainly like helping other people. But I know he's also an extremely brilliant, trained, dedicated fighter. And I'll take him any day over a guy. Ferguson's 37. He's got the reach. If Ferguson was 27, yeah, I mean, maybe it'd be a little different. But, this is a guy, I just think it's a bad matchup for Ferguson. Now, knock on wood, the only thing I probably ever won at betting-wise was betting on Benny because he was considered the underdog, but mainly because he's not the guy that will start talking trash and, the Hulk Hogan, like, oh, yeah, like, I am a real – he's not that guy. But you're right. I think this fight was specifically targeted, by Dana White and the powers that be, and to put up or shut up at least Ferguson. And I commend him both for taking the fight. And literally, I think it's the most intriguing fight of the night. But my bet your nuts is on my boy, Benny minus 170. But even if we go straight up, I just like the advantage in terms of the way his mind works.
All right. So each of y'all took one side of the fight, right?
No.
Right.
We're on
He's just going to take the other to be a contrarian.
Okay.
No, we're on the same side.
Oh, you're on the same side. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give some people a bet tomorrow to fund their wager on the fight on Saturday.
There you go.
So, as we all are aware in sports, these are all professional athletes. And so when a star goes down, you can win the next game, but you're not going to get better. Well, the Padres are in a great situation tomorrow because they're playing 2. So
I'm out.
I don't know if you got.
Before you say this, Tatis Jr. tested positive for COVID today.
Yep. That's the point. So he's down.
Oh.
So they're going to rally around Tatis being out, and so they've got Yu Darvish in the first game and Blake Snell in the second game. So I'm going to 2-team parlay. Padres win both games tomorrow. It's so you can so kids listen to this. You can get money, you can drink and watch baseball all day, and it's in 68, 66 for opening pitch. Perfect San Diego weather. Padres win both games. That's a parlay. Use that money, bet on whatever they said, and then we'll talk to you next week when you got some money in your pockets.
He's convincing, man. He's a good attorney. I'm like, all right, I'll bet on
GoFundMe
San
to
Diego.
www.lenny.com. So throw one out there for our boy who was joking about a GoFundMe the other day.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, I want to make my final shot. I want to thank everyone. We broke 12,000 interactions in 28 days today. That's a number that I did not plan on breaking for a very long time. That's last week's just kind of run of a mill, draft recap show. 16. I hadn't even told you guys 1,600 views last week on just a normal show.
Hey.
We've been overwhelmed. 100 or 293 comments left last week on post on River City Media. I mean, it's just kind of a little bit of overwhelming, but I just want to thank everybody. And we've got more coming. We're probably going to start doing some shows, maybe all three of us in one room. We are expanding our equipment. We are trying to go out into public and do shows. We have the ability to take phone calls. But if you have supported us or you're one of our family members, whoever, sincerely, stick with us, stay with us. This is a long run. And I sincerely am overwhelmed that 12,000 people took their time to go view a post or a newspaper article or our shows, or 1,600 people last week took the time to click on the link and sit there long enough for us to get a view off of just wasn't one of our specials. So that's kind of overwhelming, and I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. And hate to say it, but these two gurus here kind of make this network, so I appreciate them too. So Robbie, what do you got, buddy?
I will say any minor league baseball fans out there, the Lookouts had a great opening home stretch. And hey, they've got some really good talent. I went to the games.
Yes.
I went to the game Saturday night. Also, I left my blanket that I bought there. I'm still getting used to the being out in public. So much distractions. Bought a blanket, left it underneath my seat. So whoever got my $50 blanket, you're welcome. But yeah, no, the Lookouts got some talent. I'm excited to have them back playing. The self-proclaimed not a baseball guy, I do like going in real life and watching them. And so, yeah, that was my weekend. It was good. But yeah, thanks for watching. And yeah, I look forward to more and more content and yapping about whatever we come up with.
It's amazing when you have an open mic and you're just like, okay, we can talk about anything we want to talk about, and somebody else cares to listen. That still amazes me.
That's a bold statement to say someone else cares, per se. I get texts from a lot of my buddies like, hey, your face looks kind of fat. I'm like, thanks, dog. I appreciate it very much.
I'll put you next to me. It'll make you look skinny.
Oh, man. My wife said it. She said, yeah, you and Robbie are like, she knows Robbie and I, though. Like, together, we're kind of Tinder, and that's probably a bad example. But, a match and gasoline. She's like, yeah, but the host, Randall, he's really good. I'm like, thank you.
Well,
appreciate that very much.
I'm one fan.
A few things I wanted to say. Number one, rest in peace to Colt Brennan, who, was an Orange County guy. Not that it matters, but that guy was the original run and shoot gunslinger. 130 plus TDs, like 30 picks, set all kinds of records. He passed away today, unfortunately, probably due to our opioid crisis. They believe that fentanyl was involved. Born and raised in Newport Beach. A lot of kids in that area were good football players, but back then, USC, UCLA, Alabama, whoever it was, they only took certain guys that fit certain measurables. And he went to Hawaii and changed really how football, after him was Timmy Chang and dudes that would just start slinging it. And now as an SC guy, we're fortunate enough to have a air raid offense, which is a very good offense for talented teams. But no, back to Colt Brennan, sarcasm aside, rest in peace, man. It's sad to see he was 37 years old. I want to say thank you, everyone, especially my mom who's watching. Usually she makes fun of me. Incidentally, when I moved to Tennessee, my mom was like, do they have Taco Bell? I'm like, Mom, it's not Africa. We have the same, and they may have it in Africa, maybe probably in Johannesburg. But I was like, we've got more or less the same things here that we had at home, minus the beach. And big thanks to her who watches religiously and also gave me birth. That was a good thing, and raised me. And happy birthday to her, by the way, it's coming up. And good luck to Benny Dariush, who really is the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Awesome.
Hopefully we go 3-0 on our bets.
I hope so. I really do.
Yeah. I'm gonna dip down on that Padres sweep. That's intrigues me. So.
Yeah, happy birthday, Raj, and happy belated Mother's Day to everyone out there that's watching. If any other mothers are watching us.
Yeah. All right.
Any unwedded mothers too?
That's right.
2 weeks in a row, I've been
They're
able to
still
get us in
mothers,
it right at 90 minutes. So I'm doing my job. So we'll call it a night, and we'll get back. We had one topic. We'll roll over till next week, and it was a great discussion. And again, Colt. I just remember him being a gunslinger, and maybe next week we'll talk about that guy.
That's my answer. That's my answer to your topic next week.
And PSA, people, stop going crazy with the gas. Don't be filling up your 5-gallon jugs over and over again. I'm trying to get to Panama City next week. I'm leaving. Just calm down. Have we not learned anything from the toilet paper crisis last year? Chill out. They're just trying to scare you.
Pace yourself.
Calm down. I got to get to Florida next week. I'll be doing the show from PCB again. Everyone calm down. Just chill.
I just went by Walmart. The line was like 80 cars long. I'm like, dude, number one, where do you have to go? Number two, you're probably spending more gas sitting in the stupid line idling. Number three, chill, dude. Did you not learn anything from recent hysteria? Like bread and milk and water, toilet paper, it's all gone. I think
the state of Tennessee is
we can adapt.
The place for hysteric. I mean, I don't even understand. A friend of mine was like getting off of work saying he was going to stop get gas. He had 3/4 of a tank. It's like, I'll get gas next Monday.
You need to reevaluate your friends, Randall. I'm just kidding. Sorry, friend. I'm just joking.
Well, it's insanity, and just everyone relax and stop stop being afraid. Listen to us instead.
Yeah, my friends would get on a text where they were Buffalo Trace in Manchester, and somebody would start driving that way from Chattanooga. Now that's true scarcity.
Yeah.
All right.
If there's a liquor shortage, then I'll be the first one on the panic train.
Yeah. All right.
Big thanks to Robbie, real quick, who persevered despite having mad cow disease and bird flu, and he said it wasn't COVID, but I mean,
I can get my negative test out of the trash if I need to.
I believe you, just because your wife is too smart for both of you, so she wouldn't let you around anybody that would make you susceptible. But no, man, you powered through, couldn't tell you were sick, and Randall the same way with shingles. Hopefully you guys are both okay, and I hope that next week I'm fine because it's a bad pattern.
Yeah, hopefully we can get into all together pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So stay with us, and we'll have some great news. We'll talk to you next week on 3R's Sports.